where to start. And the reason for that is because the realization of enlightenment is like a circle. You can write on a circle in a linear way. You could write a message around a glass and turn the glass and read the message. But what if it was a sentence that ran into itself, didn't have a full stop, and made sense because it described a cyclic process? So, in entire linearity, it makes sense. Whichever bit you read, it makes sense. But the weird thing is, depending on where you start reading, will affect a lot of the meaning you apply. Because where you first start reading is kind of like your birth. So you're born and you start reading. You start reading the story of you. So this bit of the glass might be describing the winter. So some people are born in the winter. They birth into winter. They choose winter. And by starting with that as the beginning of the year, the beginning of their cycle, it indelibly shapes experience. Some people are born in the summer, some in the spring, some in the autumn. And depending on where your year starts, is going to affect the story you tell of what a year is. Now, everyone is reading the exact same story. And yet, because there are infinite time points where you can birth, no two people ever birth at exactly the same time point. You can drop time from that sentence. No two identical beings ever birth. There are just more and more experiences of starting at different places. But they're all telling the same story, but they're all telling a different story because they started at a different part on the circle. Do you see? That is how all roads lead to enlightenment. The story that every person is telling is the story of enlightenment. It's just because everyone's disagreeing that no one's enlightened. Because they haven't realized they're telling the story of enlightenment. Because everyone else is telling a different story. So they think they're wrong. And then they get competitive about the stories and who's right and who's wrong. And whose story's better and whose story's worse. Let's create a hierarchy. Let's judge each other. Then we can make sense of it. That's what happened. Everyone got here, started saying different stories, but an amazing choice was made to go through this veil of forgetfulness to forget the unified source. Otherwise, everyone would have known they were telling the same story, and the illusion would have been broken. It would have shattered. When Source births into physicality, it has to forget its source. Otherwise, it instantly sees from this wider perspective that stands outside of it, outside the Earth system, and sees the whole Earth system story. That's the realization of unified source. I am you. We are one. If you have that viewpoint, then there is no experience of this, reading the story in a linear manner. And that is the Earth experience. This, seeing the whole thing and seeing that everyone's telling the same story, is not the Earth experience. That's from outside the Earth. That's where your spirit resides. So you chose to forget that, forget you were one, in a way disconnect from your spirit, but not, in order to come down and read the glass like this. Because this, when you take this away and you just have this, suddenly there's unknown. There really isn't any unknown in that. So no growth. And we, Source, enjoy expanding. So we chose to forget the wider view, to go to this view, and all tell different stories, and have the experience of hearing different stories. Here, there's only one story. Everyone knows it. Boring. Let's all go in and forget we know each other and tell different stories. But unfortunately, there's only one story. There wasn't a capacity to make new stories because there wasn't anything else. God only knew the story of God. Source only knew the story of Source. Only one story. Boring. If we go down and forget the wider circle and turn it into what seems to be a linear thing, it isn't, it's a circle. But in human minds, it's not. You know, way past, way future. You put it all, you've taken a circle, broken it and put it in a linear line. That's the illusion in a way. That's the whole illusion. There was only one story. There was only one experience of story. There was only one experience of self, of being. By forgetting the wider view, even though we were all telling the same story, all are telling the same story, that's how we got around it, only having one story, but getting to have many takes on it. If we go like this, suddenly there is infinite diversity, all within the one story. There is infinite diversity in the one story. We took something that was singular and birthed infinite diversity from it. That is why the Earth is so fucking amazing.